A man stands at a hospital sink, aggressively scrubbing his hands with soap and water while a doctor speaks to him. It looks exactly like a devastated husband physically reacting to the news that his wife has just passed away. But he is deliberately washing away his own trace evidence before crime scene technicians can swab his skin. This isn't a man lost in grief. This is a federal investigator erasing his tracks. On a brisk morning in February, the affluent suburban community of Herndon, Virginia, was quiet. At a sprawling residence on Stable Brook Way lived 37-year-old Christine Banfield. Christine was a dedicated pediatric intensive care nurse and the mother of a 4-year-old girl named Valerie. She lived with a specific medical blood disorder that made her highly prone to nosebleeds and severe bruising. Because of her condition, Christine actively avoided contact sports and rough physical activity as a conscious daily choice. She shared the home with her husband, 40-year-old Brendan Banfield. Brendan worked as a highly trained criminal investigator for the Internal Revenue Service. Also living with the family was their 22-year-old Brazilian au pair, Juliana Peres Magalhães. She would soon become central to the unfolding events. By August 2022, the dynamic inside the home had shifted. Brendan and Juliana began a clandestine romantic relationship. This relationship would be the catalyst for everything that followed.
At some point, while you were working for the Banfield family, did your relationship with the defendant change?
Yes. It became sexual, physical relationship.
And when this relationship began, did you ever think about how it might end?
No. I didn't really think it was serious, a relationship.
Not far away in Springfield, Virginia, lived 39-year-old Joseph Ryan. To his friends in the local live-action role-playing community, he was known as Korak. They described him as a gentle, empathetic person who cared deeply for rescued animals. Joe had absolutely no connection to the events unfolding on Stable Brook Way, but Brendan had decided he wanted an entirely new life with Juliana. Instead of navigating a messy divorce, he leveraged his specialized background to engineer a plan to eliminate his wife, a plan that would soon leave a mother and an innocent stranger lifeless on a bedroom floor. Brendan understood the logistics of criminal investigations. He knew a simple missing persons case would draw endless suspicion. He wanted total control of his home, his assets, and sole custody of his daughter immediately. To do that, he needed an airtight narrative of self-defense against a violent home invader. He needed a highly specific scapegoat. Prosecutors alleged that using Christine's computer, Brendan and Juliana created a fraudulent profile on FetLife, a social networking platform for the BDSM community. Posing as Christine, they engaged in a month-long catfishing operation. They hunted for a man who would willingly walk into a home in broad daylight and proceed uninvited to the primary bedroom. They found Joe Ryan. They selected him precisely because he adhered strictly to the community's foundational rules of safe and consensual roleplay. The digital communication left a clear blueprint of their intentions. They convinced Joe he was communicating with a woman looking to fulfill a stranger roleplay fantasy. They instructed him to arrive at the Herndon home on the morning of February 24, 2023, to use an intentionally unlocked door and to bring a knife. In a crucial digital exchange, Brendan and Juliana moved their communications with Joseph to Telegram, a heavily encrypted messaging application. There, Joseph sent a photograph confirming he had procured chains, rope, and a knife. The trap came down to a single, fatal piece of deception. The perpetrators explicitly instructed Joe in writing not to stop the roleplay, even if the woman appeared genuinely terrified or begged for help. Joe thought he was walking into a negotiated fantasy, completely blind to the reality that he was walking directly into a staged crime scene. While Joe drove unwittingly toward the house, Brendan intentionally parked at a McDonald's. He made sure the restaurant's security cameras captured his face to cement his alibi.
We see him pulling into a parking spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's Mr. Banfield getting out of his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we've changed angles and we see him going into Do you understand that to be the bathroom of the McDonald's?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we now see him exiting and on his phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And our camera angle shifts and we follow him still on his phone? And is it 7:37 and approximately 30 seconds that he's getting in his car still on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But Brendan didn't stay at the restaurant long. He raced back to the house and laid in wait. As Juliana kept watch from a vehicle parked nearby, she alerted Brendan the moment Joe approached the property. Joe walked into the primary bedroom holding a knife. Brendan immediately shot him. He then took the knife Joe had brought and stabbed Christine 7 times in the neck. According to her testimony, Juliana retrieved a firearm provided by Brendan and shot Joe a second time. Downstairs in the basement, 4-year-old Valerie sat entirely unharmed, trapped in the house while her father killed 2 people on the floor above her. At exactly 7:47 a.m., Juliana dialed 911. The call lasted exactly 8 seconds. The dispatch operator was met only with the sound of agonizing human groans before the line abruptly went dead. The audio revealed the true horror of the morning. For 15 minutes, there was digital silence. Prosecutors argued that during this unexplainable 15-minute gap, Brendan and Juliana smeared Christine's blood onto Joe's hands and clothing to manufacture their intruder narrative. Then, at 8:02 a.m., a second call was placed. Brendan took the phone and calmly stated he was a federal agent who had just shot an intruder to save his wife.
Coverage County 911, where's your emergency?
My friend, she just was stuck in the knife now. She's bleeding a lot. I don't know what to do anymore.
Okay, where are you located?
Oh my God.
Take a deep breath for me. Just let me know your address. Take a deep breath for me. You're on Stablebrook Way. Is there somebody else there that can give me the address?
My name is Christine Banfield. I'm a federal agent. This is my house. There's somebody here. I shot him. But he stabbed her. She's bleeding. She's got several marks on her neck. What do I do?
Okay, so what I need you to do is apply direct pressure directly to where she's bleeding from, okay? And if it becomes soaked, just add more cloth to it. It's already there. Okay, so the person that you shot, where is he?
I don't know. I don't know him.
Okay, where is he, though?
He's here. He's on the ground.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Back out.
Are you the one that was injured?
She's not responding.
The initial response captured his crafted narrative in action.
We're gonna have to get him out of here.
Yeah, I know.
Can you give him a second? Don't touch anything else.
I'm not. Can you change my gloves out? We can get him out of here. I got you.
We're gonna take him and stick him in a cruiser. Yeah, I gotta hook him up, guys. Having a breakdown?
Yeah. Okay. Just give him a second.
I gotta put him on the monitor. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Can you help him? Just be with him.
Yep.
God, I'm good.
Shortly after the scene was secured, officers brought Brendan to the hospital. When a doctor officially delivered the news that his wife had died, his immediate physical reaction raised instant suspicion.
Hi, sir. My name is Gina. I'm one of the doctors here. Your wife has died. So sorry.
Where's the daughter?
Where is that?
She's still at the scene, sir. She's with the other officers.
Were you there at the time?
Yes.
You were there at the time. So is there any part that I can help? I can explain what happened when she arrived here, but you were there and it sounds like there was a lot of blood loss.
Yes.
And so I think that she died of blood loss. Her airway was actually okay. I'll call the medical examiner, of course, and we'll do an autopsy and make sure we know for certain. But
I was trying to apply pressure.
Brendan was not arrested that day. After leaving the hospital, he reunited with Juliana. Hours after the violence, the perpetrators sat in a local hotel lobby with 4-year-old Valerie. An intelligence detective overheard Valerie approach Juliana. Valerie asked, "Can I call you mommy now?" Juliana replied, "Yes." Brendan and Juliana quickly resumed a normal life. They discarded the blood-soaked carpet and entirely renovated the primary bedroom where Christine had died. Juliana emptied her au pair closet and moved her clothing, specifically her red lingerie, directly into the primary bedroom. Brendan lived freely for exactly 570 days. That freedom ended with his arrest on September 16, 2024. A month later, his alibi completely collapsed when Juliana, who was already in jail facing a murder charge, pled guilty to manslaughter and agreed to testify against him. Her testimony would become a central piece of the prosecution. In January 2026, the world watched as Brendan's former accomplice took the stand to detail exactly how they had orchestrated the murders.
So what ultimately made you decide that you were going to enter this plea?
Was the thought of being the right thing to do. I guess we all deserved to know what really happened, and couldn't keep it to myself. The feeling of shame and guilt and sadness and all those feelings.
When you were first arrested, were you able to speak to the defendant on the phone?
Yes.
And did you send letters to him?
Yes.
And did he send letters to you?
Yes.
Did the two of you continue your relationship?
Yes.
When did this plan, when was it originally formulated?
After October, when he first mentioned the plan, that was just, at that point, was just get rid of Christine.
So sometime in October, the plan was to get rid of Christine.
Yes. When I got to the bedroom, Brendan said, "Police officer." Christine's first reaction, that was the first time I heard she say anything at that point. Then she yelled back at Brendan, saying, "Brendan, he has a knife." That's when Brendan first shot Joe.
What did you see Brendan do next?
When I was bringing him the towel, he got on top of her, and that's when I first saw him stab her with a knife.
Where on her body was he stabbing her?
Her neck. At that point, that's when I stand in front of the dresser and the TV, and I'm telling Brendan that Joe is moving. He was moving, and he doesn't have any reaction to that whatsoever. And I just start telling him, he's moving, he's behind you, and that's when I fired the shot too.
And when you say you fired what?
A gun.
Brendan's double murder trial began in January 2026. At trial, the physical evidence systematically refuted his carefully rehearsed narrative. The defense claimed Joe Ryan was a knife-wielding aggressor in a dynamic struggle, but forensic analyst Iris Daly-Graff testified the red marks on Joe's hands were passive transfer stains, indicating blood was deliberately smeared onto his skin after he was already incapacitated. The prosecution also answered the last lingering forensic question using the Telegram app. Because Brendan had purposely washed his hands at the hospital, prosecutors argued he potentially destroyed crucial trace evidence. Fingerprints on the blade didn't clearly point to either man. However, the photo Joseph sent of his supplies via Telegram proved that the weapon belonged to him, and that Brendan had taken it from him during the ambush. Unable to explain the 15-minute gap between the 911 calls, the defense argued the agonizing groans heard on the tape were actually the sounds of the family dog. A rebuttal detective testified the vocalizations were distinctly human. Brendan took the witness stand in his own defense. He testified under oath that his affair with Juliana was merely casual, claiming the two were not even together when his wife died. That testimony was immediately put to the test.
Your affair with Juliana began in August of 2022, correct?
Yes, I would say that it was a relationship, but it is an affair, but I wouldn't categorize it as serious.
All right, do you recognize this letter?
Yes.
And this is your letter to Juliana?
Correct.
Written while she's incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say that in this letter you profess your undying love for Juliana?
Yes, it appears that I was definitely in love with her.
You describe here in the very first paragraph-ish, you came here and we fell in love. But you're suggesting that that love didn't happen until after Christine was dead?
As I said, that we did have feelings for each other prior, but I would not describe them as the level of feelings that I had for my wife of 19 years.
The prosecution introduced text messages drafted before the murders in which Brendan and Juliana actively picked out baby names for their future children, objectively contradicting his testimony. On the witness stand, Brendan claimed that as Christine lay dying, she spoke to him, saying she was sorry and that she loved him. Assistant Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Megan Kessler testified that Christine's injuries were rapidly fatal. With 7 deep stab wounds to her neck, her injuries made her physically incapable of speaking, proving Brendan's emotional account was a physiological impossibility. The trial also revealed a significant internal conflict within the police department. Officer Miller, a digital forensics expert, testified he initially concluded Christine controlled her own devices. Defense attorneys argued he was punitively transferred out of the unit for refusing to alter his findings to fit the department's theory. Despite the internal police dissent, the digital footprint proved inescapable. Prosecutors argued that device and login records, along with timestamp patterns, firmly tied the FetLife account's activity to Brendan's movements. On February 2nd, 2026, the jury reached a verdict.
We, the jury on the issue, join in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield as part of the same act or transaction. Guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan within the same 3-year period during which he did also kill and murder Christine Banfield. Guilty of using a firearm in the commission of a felony. Guilty of child endangerment. Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
During the sentencing phase for the au pair, Joe Ryan's mother, Deirdre Fisher, sat in the courtroom. She kept her son's ashes with her constantly, stating her ultimate plan was to eventually be laid to rest with him. Speaking to the press, she fiercely combated the defense's character assassination, stating, "He wasn't just some creepy fetish guy."
I lost my confidant, someone who knew me deeply, listened without judgment, offered advice with my best interests at heart. I lost my biggest ally and my cheerleader. That empathetic voice saying, "Mom, you got this. Mom, you should be kinder to yourself." So many moments defending and explaining who my son was and why he couldn't have committed the murder of Christine Banfield. My son's life was used and thrown away, seen as worthless and utterly disposable. Disposal by those who plotted and executed his brutal murder. Joseph Nathan Ryan was not and is not disposable.
On February 13th, 2026, Chief Judge Penny S. Azcarate sentenced Juliana to 10 years in prison, with an additional 2 years suspended. Addressing her directly, the judge condemned the psychological damage Juliana inflicted, specifically citing the hotel lobby exchange where she allowed the 4-year-old to call her mommy.
You may not have come up with a plan, agreed, and an older man may have groomed you to a point, but I want to list for the record the facts that I cannot equate with accepting a time-served recommendation. Number one, until today, you have shown no empathy for the victim in this case. Number 2, you were more involved with the plan than you testified to. First off, there were numerous postings on social media platforms and text platforms looking for a target, texting and speaking directly with Joseph Ryan, encouraging him to bring the knife, and ultimately through the phone conversation, getting his consent, knowing all along you were bringing him to his death. Lying to Christine and setting up the plan for the zoo, using her devices and hiding her phone, using a child as a pawn in your plan, waiting outside for Joseph to show up, calling Mr. Banfield to bring him to the scene, and at any point for at least the month prior or that day, you could have stopped this. The plan did not work without your full involvement. Number 3, having the loaded firearm in your pocket. Number 4, bringing a child into the basement knowing 2 people were about to be murdered, to include the child's mother. Number 5, hearing Christine ask you to call 911, which you did and then immediately hung up. Number 6, seeing Joseph Bryan, who was shot in the head at that time, still moving and walking up to him as he lay moaning on the floor and shooting him point blank in the heart. Number 7, watching as Mr. Banfield stabbed Christine over and over again. Number 8, waiting 15 minutes before recalling 911. Number 9, telling a fabricated story for over a year and a half, a story that depicted Joseph Ryan wrongly as a rapist and a murderer, an innocent man. And number 10, telling the child it was okay to call you mommy hours after the murder. Your actions were deliberate, self-serving, and demonstrated a profound disregard for human life. So let's get it straight. You do not deserve anything other than incarceration and a life of reflection on what you have done to the victim and this family. May it weigh heavily on your soul. So today I'm sentencing you on a manslaughter charge because that's what's before me. And the facts of this case demonstrate an intentional and calculated level of violence that is the most serious manslaughter scenario that this court has ever seen. Therefore, I do sentence you to 10 years in the penitentiary, as required by Virginia Code 19.2, 295.2. After you've completed your 10-year sentence, I will order an additional 2 years suspended, and you will be placed on probation pursuant to Virginia Code 19.2, 303.
Brendan Banfield is scheduled to be sentenced on June 5th, 2026, where he faces a mandatory life sentence. Following his arrest, Valerie Banfield was removed from his physical custody. While the trial focused on Brendan's digital trail and cold calculation, the real tragedy remains the loss of Christine and Joe, 2 lives violently cut short for a staged fantasy. It is deeply unsettling how someone trained to uphold the law could manipulate the trust of others so ruthlessly. But as we've seen, no matter how meticulously a plan is constructed, the truth has a way of surfacing. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more deep dives into complex cases like this, make sure to subscribe.